Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Hope everyone is doing okay this morning. I'm doing a few shows tonight because I'm going to the radio station in the morning. They just kind of hit me up with it at the last minute. These were items that were on my agenda to talk about tomorrow, so I'm doing them now. One of the things I had another item that I wanted to discuss, but this one came up, and I thought this was extremely interesting and fascinating in a way. So there was a big election in Massachusetts. I mean, big is always perspective. It depends on how many eyes are on it. So big from the perspective of people paying attention to it, and they considered it to be a big upset. Mike Capuano was taken down by Ayanna Pressley. I've been kind of paying attention to this race only because The Intercept did you could say, an expose of this race, making this point of Mike Capuano is a known progressive. He is a clear progressive. He has a track record where you can look at and say this guy has been a lefty from the standpoint of policy of a person going in and making the vote. She's an unknown quantity. And then being an unknown quantity in some of these aspects, an unknown quantity in questions that she hasn't answered. Meaning an unknown quantity in what she would do, first of all. And second of all, in some of the cases where she did answer questions, she avoided saying certain things or avoided answering certain questions. I'm trying to make this dichotomy between just because somebody says something doesn't mean they're going to do what they say. And even with that bar of a person saying something, not knowing what they're going to do, what they say, she has even hit that hurdle on some cases. Specifically talking about the BDS movement. There was a bill that was put out talking about criminalizing people or businesses that was working with the BDS movement. That's an amazing thing in and of itself. We're talking about criminalizing a person's political choice. We have no idea where she stands on that. That's mind-blowing. We have no idea where she stands on foreign policy. That's mind-blowing. These are things that a congressman is going to have to do. There are not things that they should get a pass on discussing. A known progressive was taken out for somebody that's an unknown quantity. That's how I see this. I feel odd about this race. As I challenge myself on why I feel any kind of way about this, because I wasn't fully paying attention to it, there's a certain amount of disloyalty, I guess, it feels like. And I don't mean that in a, people were being disloyal to Mike Capuano. That's not it. More so, it's this part. This is The Intercept. When they asked her, how are you different? Like, how are you different? If I'm taking you out of office, I'm taking you out of office for reasons. If I'm keeping you in office, or if I put you in office, I'm putting you in office because I want you to affect a certain political position. It's not about your identity. It's about what you do. There's a difference in those things. Your identity is not this kind of operative thing. Yeah, there are things that are dumped into you over the course of your lifespan that you somewhat rattle and talk about. But from my stance, when I am voting for someone and when I am advocating or pushing for somebody, I'm pushing for somebody because of what they're doing, not because of how they look. There's a difference in those things. Political actors use their race and sex and gender and all these things for political ends. Understand that people who look at them and act as if these attributes are things that allow them to relate. And on some level, yes, that's true, maybe. But the overarching attribute may not necessarily be just the way they look. There is a difference in those things. I just want to make that very clear. Somebody who was clear and who had been somewhat defined in how they operate in Congress, and by any measure would be what you would consider to be a lefty, was taken out for somebody that voted for Hillary Clinton and advocated for Hillary Clinton. And yes, I know Capuano, yes, also voted for Hillary Clinton, but the difference is he has a track record to go by where you can see where his alliances were. The same cannot be said for her. Just saying. People are celebrating this as if this is some kind of big thing. Yes! But what did you win? You took out a guy who was a clear guy, who was a clear, understood, known quantity. And it seems like the only grounds that you've used to take him out is she's black and she's a woman. Ain't that awesome? Is that what we've become? Is that the delineating characteristic of what you can do to win in the Democratic Party? I find this to be fucking amazing. This is not... Look, if Ocasio-Cortez taking out Crowley makes absolute sense. A, she represents a district. B, she's representing a certain ideology that lefties are pushing for. I get it. But what about this? What has Michael Capuano done other than being just kind of in the way in what's considered a wave where you can take certain people out? Yeah, I don't like it. I don't understand her rationale for taking him out. That's all. Anybody can run, yes. Anybody can take anybody out. But in regards to the clear delineating things between who she is and who he is, the arguments that keep coming up, that I keep hearing, have to do with gender and race. That's not the only thing for me. I need more. Yes. Shocking. I need more. Like right here. In a recent debate aired on Radio Boston Radio Conciliator, let me see. Yeah, right here, Intercept. Ayanna Pressley delivered an unusual mantra for a bid to unseat incumbent Representative Mike Capuano, declaring that she would vote in a nearly identical way as her opponent. We will vote the same way, but lead differently. What does that mean? What does that mean? We'd vote the same way and lead differently. If you're voting the same way, why do I need somebody else? If you're voting the same way, why do I need somebody else? What is your distinctive mark? Beyond whether you will vote the same way or not, there are differences, and these differences are significant, at least to me. Especially if you're talking about voting the same way as the person who you're talking about unseating. I care about the military stuff. And this argument about PAC money, she makes the argument. For her part, Pressley argued 2 years ago that money in politics does not impact the fundamental issues of the economic inequality, claiming that campaign finance reform does nothing to address concerns around healthcare, jobs, and housing. Well, I disagree. If you're talking about taking somebody out that you're going to vote fundamentally the same way with, I want to know if you have this particular ideology because it matters. It matters. She wants to abolish ICE. Okay. People, when they hear that, they think open borders. It doesn't mean that, at least not for everybody, but okay. War and peace. This gets into this thing, but this is kind of besides the point. I'm putting these at the bottom for people to read. My point in giving this heads up, let me give this story first. Insurgent challenger Ayanna Pressley knocks out incumbent Mike Capuano on pledge to abolish ICE. Ayanna Pressley on Tuesday unseated long-standing incumbent Mike Capuano on Massachusetts District 7. Pressley set her sights on Capuano's seat, she said, because she felt the congressman wasn't providing the kind of leadership that the community deserves. She said that Capuano's insufficient commitment to addressing inequality in the district, his acceptance of corporate money, and his position to abolish ICE movement was out of step with District 7, the most diverse district in the Commonwealth. Capuano told The Intercept that he stands by his past performance. I'll compile my record against anybody, he said. He quickly conceded the race on Tuesday night. Clearly, the district wanted a lot of change, he said. Look, I like I said, it's politics. You put yourself up, you run, district makes a choice. And we're in a situation where the Democratic Party and what it has as a brand is toxic. And the new wave, or what they consider to be a new wave, that's somewhat of a movement. You have to give it credit. But every movement is not necessarily a good one, meaning in every specific context. It's like every law that's passed adversely affects somebody, even with the best of intentions. And I have to be honest, what I've read of Capuano, he comes across as he was one of the decent ones. And I stand by what I've said because I think it's true. And a known quantity was taken down for an unknown quantity. It is very possible that this woman moved to the left to get on the wave, and that they've let somebody in purely on a wave without necessarily having any legitimacy behind it. We will see what she does when she's in office. But Capuano's down. Ayanna, what is her first name? Ayanna Pressley wins District 7's race in Massachusetts. Thanks, guys.